we're back to the Q&A, and we're talking all things internet. And you know, Costa Rica has made a lot of huge advancements. So we talked about that in our live a few minutes ago, but now it's time to make sure that you put all of your questions, your comments, your concerns, and we want to answer all of those questions concerning the internet first, okay? And then we want to answer anything else. If you got questions, comments, anything, hey, where the heck we been the last couple of weeks? Why haven't you seen some videos? We've been crazy busy.
Very busy. Did you do the introduction? Or?
Hey, but you know what? Let me, in case this is your first time here and you happen to find us online, hey, I'm Alan. This is my wonderful co-host,
Rebecca.
Oh, I almost forgot her name. This is Rebecca, and today, hey, we are the Living in Costa Rica, and we're giving you all of the information you need to know about living in Costa Rica, giving you the pros and cons. You know, we like to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, without being ugly about it. You know, we want to give you the facts, the truth. You know, Costa Rica's not for everybody, and matter of fact, I almost left. The first 30 days, I couldn't get internet, and I was just like, this ain't working for me, you know. And, you know, because we work online, we have to have internet if we're going to survive in Costa Rica. Because, we're not...
We were having to travel to a restaurant and buy a couple of meals and so forth to be able to stay there throughout the day and work in the restaurant.
We're not rich gringos and we're not independently wealthy. You know, we still work online and we're not retirement age. You know, I tried to retire one time and I ran out of money, so I had to go back to work.
Yeah, that didn't work so well, did it?
Didn't work too good. You know, we don't have a check.
There? Are we on?
Yeah, we're on, you know, but for whatever reason, my computer there is kind of buffering, but it'll come on there shortly. I don't know why it's not. But anyhow, so, hey, take a look. While you're here, please give us a like. It looks like we got quite a few people that are coming on right now. We greatly appreciate you. Hey, we thank you very much. People are asking, well, hey, how can we donate to the cause and how can we contribute? And right there at the chat box, you know, where you're chatting, take a moment to say hi, tell us where you're from, put in your questions and comments about internet in Costa Rica, and make sure that, if you want to contribute, there's a $sign right there. You can click on that $sign and you can give any amount that you want. Matter of fact, even better, you can join our forum. It's free to join, but you can join as a premium member. It's $10 a month. Lots of valuable information. It's constantly growing. And, you can, lots of information, and you can contact us. Matter of fact, we try to send emails out letting people know when we're going to do a live or anything special. You know, if we have, we're thinking about doing some sort of a tour so you can come down here and things like that so you can kind of discover what's going on, get a feel for it. Well, if you want to know about those things, you need to join our newsletter, our email list, and there's a link in the description so that you can join our newsletter and you can find out, you'll get some automated emails that'll tell you all about when we first came. It's quite hilarious. It's a lot of good information. But hey, join the forum, join our email list so that you can be sure to get those emails from us, especially when we go live. Hey, I don't promote junk and say you should buy this and you should buy that. We just give you good information about Costa Rica. So your email is safe with us, okay? So, hey, let's get after it. Lots of good information. I just love all of the input. People are talking about all kind of good things on here. So I love the feedback. It goes back and forth. People are talking. So let me see what's going on right here. Give me just a second to see what's going on. I'm going to have to do a speed test real quick.
Might be connected to the wrong...
Yeah, it may be connected to the wrong thing, but let's see what's going on because it looks like my computer is buffering. But we should be...
And see, it's not hardwired in out here.
Yeah, see, the computer's not hardwired in. It's coming in wirelessly, so it's not working as quick. But that's all right. We should be fine. All right. So let me take a look at some of the questions right here. as we take a look at some of the questions, a lot of people have concerns. And, one of the most important things is people that are saying, well, hey, if I do come to Costa Rica, can I work from home? And yes, that really is dependent on where you live at, like you said earlier. Mm-hmm. If you're living very remote, it's difficult sometimes to find good internet. And, I think most people, when they come here, they want to live remotely. They don't want to live right in town. They want to enjoy nature. Matter of fact, the place that Rebecca and I are going to, it's very, very, very remote. And you'll get to see some of that information. And the other day I was there and the monkeys came by to see me. And so it's kind of nice that you can be on your property. Monkeys come by, wildlife, and it's nice. But there's no internet out there, so I'm having to really go to some extreme measures to get internet there. So it just really depends on where you want to live and how much you're willing to invest to live in a remote area. Because the place that we're going to, it doesn't have electricity, it doesn't have internet, and it doesn't have cell phone service. But it has a lot of water. And with that water, you can create just about whatever you want. So anyway, we'll be talking more about that later. But let's answer some questions about Q&A, okay? So let me come up here and I'm going to take a look at some of these questions here. All right. Hey, and I greatly appreciate it. There's lots of feedback going back and forth. And hey, we really appreciate the folks that joined Premium. Brian was saying, hey, we're joining the Premium Forum today. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. It really does help us out a lot in what we're doing, okay? And we really appreciate it. Now, BB says, hey, you answered most of my questions. And he says, but one last question is, hey, do you guys want a qualified steeplejack? Now, I don't know what a steeplejack is, and I'm guessing that's someone that knows how to put up towers. But he says, do you want a qualified steeplejack with your tower construction? My feed is food and roof over my head along with my honey. Man, that would be cool if you'd have been here before I put those towers up. But anyway, in Costa Rica, and we've said it many, many times, is a place for entrepreneurs. I think a lot of people coming here, they don't want to be entrepreneurs. They just want to retire and enjoy the Pura Vida lifestyle, or they just want to relax and enjoy nature. And so I don't think there's a lot of gringos coming here to be entrepreneurs. But hey, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to make money, it's easy to make money, in my opinion, in Costa Rica. And one of the ways is actually being an internet provider and being an entrepreneur who actually resells internet to people who live in remote areas. Now, how long is that going to last with Starlink coming in?
Right.
I don't know, because Starlink is going to kill some of that, okay?
Yeah, the market could change at any moment.
That's right.
And the red tape, the bureaucracy
yeah.
for business owners.
Yeah. So it does make a big difference there. Now, someone did ask, well, if you have Starlink, or even if you have the tower-to-tower that I talked about, well, how does the weather affect that, okay? And that's a good question. Now, when I say tower-to-tower, that is technically called point-to-point, or PTP, point-to-point connections. Now, if you have point-to-point, the most important thing that you need to know is that you can't have anything in between. If you have trees in between, if you have a mountain in between, it's got to be a clear line of sight, okay? That doesn't mean you have to be able to see it, but as long as you have a clear line of sight and there are no obstructions, then you're going to have good internet, and it doesn't matter how hard it's raining, it doesn't matter about fog or any of that stuff. It will go through that, okay? Now, with satellite, it's a little bit different depending on how hard it's raining and snow and stuff like that. It can sometimes cause a little bit of a problem. We used to have, I'm trying to think, HughesNet. We used to have HughesNet satellite internet when we was in Louisiana, because we were, I can't say in a remote area, but we were in a smaller area.
We're in a small town.
And we had to have satellite internet from HughesNet. And if it rained hard, then the internet would go down. And that's not so much a problem anymore. And with Starlink, they're claiming it's not going to be a problem. Hey, we won't know until we have it. But Starlink, and the reason they're claiming it's not going to be a problem, is that their satellites are going to be at a much lower altitude than the typical satellites that are being used today. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. You shouldn't have a problem with that. And especially since there's no snow in Costa Rica. And that's the big problem because snow is kind of a solid substance, whereas rain, it's not so much because in Costa Rica, it does rain, well, in most places, 6 months out of the year. And it's never raining terribly, terribly hard. So it's not going to usually be a problem, okay? Let me take a look at some of these other questions here. Hey, Brian said, I would like some mead. And hey, somebody ship me some mead. I actually made some mead before. And mead, in case you don't know, is just some wine made out of honey. Man, that is some delicious stuff. Problem is, it takes a lot of patience because it takes like over 2 years for it to really be smooth and what's the word I'm looking for?
Ferment?
Not ferment, but for it to
mature?
Yeah, to mature. To age is the word I'm looking for. Mead is good stuff. And look, if you're a winemaker, and I'm a winemaker, I like to make wine, and there's lots and lots of fruit, and so you can make wine out of, there's so much fruit in Costa Rica, it's crazy, okay? So much fruit. Banana has been my favorite, and I got a bunch of banana wine and some star fruit wine that's ready to be bottled. Woo, boy, look out. Okay. All right, let's take a look and see if there's some other questions here. Now, William says, I got 2 questions. Number 1, is it true that fiber optic is being installed throughout Costa Rica? Yes, indeed, it is true. I think they only started about a year ago, maybe a little more. But like I said earlier, they have got miles and miles of internet installed. And we're actually seeing trucks, even in smaller areas. We told you our favorite area is over in the Rivas area. And I saw some fiber optic trucks out in the Rivas area just the other day. And so they should be getting fiber optic down there pretty soon. So that's going to make things so much better. Number 2, he says, are there any internet contracts or you just pay as you go? For the most part, you pay as you go. But, I wished I'd have thought about this earlier. So this is real important in case you missed out earlier. As a tourist, it's difficult for you to just go buy internet. Now, I think Doug said earlier, you can buy the little SIMS card and you can put it in your phone as long as your phone is unlocked and you can get internet on your phone, which is great, okay? However, if to buy a plan, an internet plan or something like that, then you have to be a resident. Now, one way around that, years ago when we lived in Potrero Grande, you just showed your passport and you could buy the internet. But Costa Rica is making it more and more and more difficult for you to buy anything as a tourist because they figure if you're going to buy internet, if you're going to buy a cell phone plan, stinking become a resident. And I totally understand that, okay? So one way around that is by forming a corporation in Costa Rica. It's going to cost you anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to form a corporation. However, by forming that corporation, you can easily get a banking account or buy internet. So a few years ago when we lived in Potrero Grande, I was able just to go buy the internet I needed. Now at the time, they only had 20 megs down and 1 meg up. That's all they would sell. Costa Rica still does not understand that upload is very important because most people don't use upload, okay? And they figure if you use upload, you're a business and we're going to charge you an arm and a leg for it, okay? So it's important to note that. But years ago, I could buy it just showing my passport. Today, you cannot. I had to actually, when I went to go buy it again, they said, well, you can't buy it with your passport. You got to have a corporation. Thank goodness I had already established one and I showed them my corporation. And then they told me, sorry, we don't have internet.
After all that.
After all that trouble. So anyway, having a corporation does make it a lot easier. So it's real important for you to note, you see an attorney, and depending on the attorney, you can get a corporation established within just days. I mean, in less than a week, you can get a corporation established. You get your papers, and then you can get banking accounts, internet, a lot of different things, get a cell phone plan, all those kind of things that you can't get as a typical tourist.
Right. And you have to renew it annually, right?
Well, it's just like the corporations in the United States. You have to pay corporation fees every year. But I'm glad you brought that up, Rebecca, because the corporation fees to renew your corporation runs us about 75, 80 bucks a year. It's hardly nothing, okay? While it may cost anywhere from 500 to 1,000 to establish that corporation, it was only about 75, 80 bucks a year to renew the corporation every year.
Yeah.
Good point. So, but it's very well worth it, okay? Oh, John Way says he's going to bring me some meat in January. I hope he was talking to me. All right. Stephen Tracy, they say hola from Paris Celadon. So they did talk to me. They have come down, and we're supposed to meet up with those guys, I believe. Oh, yeah, John Way says, look, they got 50 beehives, and they make meat, and they sell it through their liquor stores. Woohoo!
Wow.
Now, since I said that, it is important to note, we just found out not too long ago that, wow, I think you shouldn't have any problem making wine. You cannot sell wine, and it's illegal to sell your wine in Costa Rica. So
without a license.
Without a license. Obviously, you can go do whatever you got to do, but don't get caught making your wine and selling your wine at the local, farmer's market. Don't make that mistake, okay? So be careful. Costa Rica, if you're going to be in any kind of business, they want your taxes, okay? Which, like any country, right?
Yeah. And I suppose for regulation,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. Whoops. I'm looking at your questions and comments right here. So, hey, please put your question and comments in here as I take a quick look.
Yeah. And please excuse me today. I'm tired. I'm worn out from the move. Plus, I've been bitten by something, and I have a bad spot on my leg from something that has bitten me. I'm going to have to go to the doctor tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, we worked tremendously hard over the last several weeks in preparation to move. And it's kind of like we told you guys, if you're looking for a place to rent, it's very, very difficult to find any rentals online. And you almost just, if you go knocking on doors, you will find and talking to people, you can find rentals. But, Costa Rica, Ticos don't typically put stuff online.
Right. I found a lot on Airbnb until I put in the filter for that we have a cat and a dog. And that reduced the number of houses available to rent for us. I think there were only 3 in this area on Airbnb. And it's very time consuming to make appointments to go see, meet up with the landlord and look at the house and find out all the information. But I found more places for rent just by talking to people at the farmer's market, the grocery store, on the the internet. My friends, my Costa Rican friends, just asking, found several houses because, like Alan said, they just don't put it on Airbnb or on the internet at all.
That's right. It's just not what they're used to.
Right. It's been very time consuming and tiring in addition to all of our normal daily things to find a place and move. So,
That's
and
right.
I think maybe a spider or something bit me from all the boxes and
Yeah.
the bags and so forth. So,
Yeah. So another question here is Marco says, well, how is the fiber optic cable progress in the San Vito area? And I think they have already got it installed there, and I don't know that for a fact, but I'm basing that on the information that Rebecca gave. We've got a couple that's in that San Vito area, and they're looking at buying internet, and they actually have 100 megs of internet available, and usually that's not available unless there's fiber optic installed. So the good news is you can get good internet in San Vito now, where it was a challenge to get good internet
Right.
there. Okay. Let me take a look here. So I'm and thanks for all the comments and input. People letting us know that you can hear fine, okay?
and thanks to Doug in the first video, he reminded people to like and give us a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Appreciate you watching out for us, Doug.
That's right. We greatly appreciate it. Because you taking just a moment, just a second to like the video. It sends signals to YouTube that you value our content, and they actually promote it out to more and more people so that we can help more people. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. James says, hey, when I decide to move to Costa Rica, can you help us with finding a place? And we definitely can. There's several things that we do to help you. And, and that's something you want to do. You want to join the forum. You want to contact us via the forum, or, subscribe to our newsletter. And there's a link in the description so that you can reply to us via email. And, we can work out a price and work out different things depending on what kind of service you need. We have several different people that will actually pick you up at the airport and bring you to wherever you need to be, meet you in the event that, hey, it's your first time out of the country, you don't know what to do, don't know where to go. I'm new, I don't know what to do. Well, we can certainly help you with that, okay? So yes, indeed, we can help you with quite a number of things. You just got to reach out to us so that we can communicate, find out what kind of service you need, and then we'll work up a price on what we can do, depending on whether we got time or whether we can find somebody that can help you, okay? And, hey, yeah, Doug says you need to put some recipes on the forum, and definitely on the forum, we're going to add a lot more. The forum is growing and is getting more and more people in there. I think Doug is very active in the forum as well. A couple of other people. So get into the forum, meet people, greet people. And the more that's there, the more active it gets, the better it gets, the more we can add stuff to it. So please join our forum, and definitely, because there's people that's wanting to know some of our recipes, not only on our wine making, but we eat very, very healthy, mostly a plant-based diet. And, and we even make food for our dog now, our dog is not on a plant-based diet. He's meant to eat meat, and he was sure to let me know that, okay? So
Nikki is a she.
Nikki is a she. She was sure to let me know. You might not be eating no ground meat, but you make sure you put it in my food. So anyway.
She really likes that food that we make for her, because when we run out, if we haven't had time to make some more, we'll buy her the really good dog food, that looks like grandma's roast beef, with the gravy. And she does not like that as much as she likes the dog food that we prepare for her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a good question here from Marcus, who says, I've been hearing a lot about the Costa Rican government financial crisis and that the infrastructure is slowing down. Roads and strikes are the first news. Are you seeing any evidence of this, or is it just fake news? Hey, Marcus, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people have been asking about that, or most importantly, been asking about the financial crisis of Costa Rica.
Yeah, I'd say that the strikes have been over with for, about 2 months now?
Yeah, the strikes have been over with for a while. And so, yeah, there's a lot of, like you said, there is some fake news out there. Now.
Or old news.
Or maybe it's old news. So, okay, let's go to the financial crisis, okay? Costa Rica has been in a financial crisis for years and years. That is nothing new, okay? Now, it's anybody's guess as to what is going to happen. Now, right now, Costa Rica did borrow, I think, $1.9 trillion from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. I wish they'd loan me some money. Anyway, now that they've borrowed this money, Costa Rica has got to come up with ways to repay that money. Well, obviously, the first thing they did was they tried to tax all of the general public. Well, before we talk about that, let's kind of back up and talk about why is Costa Rica in such financial crisis. Well, years and years ago, it's very well known that if you're in government, you get paid way, way too much money. The average salary is around $1,000 to $2,000 a month. That's the average salary, okay? A teacher will make about $1,500 to $2,000 a month. Someone that's working in a grocery store might make around $500 to $750 a month. And they're living on that, okay? So people in government might easily make $10,000 a month, okay? And so it's really skewed and really not fair at all. So if you're an attorney, if you're in legal, if you're in government, you make a ton of money. And what's bad is that when you retire, you get this huge, crazy expensive pension, which might be $10,000, $15,000 a month. And then when you die, it will go to your child. And then when your child dies, it goes to their grandchild. And so there's a lot of money, and there's no money coming in for that, okay? So that's the biggest reason that Costa Rica is in this financial crisis. And the best way to fix that is, well, of course, to cut back on all of that, but nobody in government wants their check to be cut. So what do? They try to increase taxes on all the local people, and that's where the road strikes come in. The roadblocks and the strikes come in because it's like, no, you're trying to tax the little people when the problem is coming from the big people who are too greedy or they got these high checks. That's what's happening. So they're looking for ways to fix all of that. So Costa Rica has been in a financial crisis for years and years and years. I don't know, they're trying to fix that. It's anyone's guess as what's going to happen, but...
Yeah. One of their plans for remedy to bring in more money to the country is to begin taxing the income of foreigners.
Yeah. So that's something that you need to think about.
Right now, your income as a foreigner is not taxed unless it's earned in the country.
In the country. Mm-hmm.
So this isn't set in stone, but there's talk, and a lot of people are waiting to see what's going to be the outcome with that, because that can mean a lot of money for some people.
That's right.
Right now they're only taxing the money that you earn in the country if you're a foreigner, but they're talking about taxing foreigners' income anywhere in the world, if I'm explaining that correctly.
That's right. So so that's important to know, because so let's use a real world example. For us, we generate our income online. Our income doesn't come from Costa Rica, so they can't tax that money, okay? If you're retired and as you get your pension, well, your pension isn't taxed because, well, you paid that when you was earning money. Well, Costa Rica's thinking about taxing any income, which means that your pension might possibly be taxed. And if you're like Rebecca and I and you create all of your income online, well, then they're going to want to tax that. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think if Costa Rica were to make that huge mistake, they would find out that all of a sudden all of the foreigners would be leaving the country. They would be in a bigger financial crisis than ever before, and they would immediately reverse that. That's just my opinion. But like I said, it's anybody's guess, okay? So it's just something that you need to know about. But it's just like we talked about how Costa Rica is talking about incentivizing, and they want more foreigners to come to Costa Rica and become residents because they know foreigners will spend their money here. And they're talking about incentivizing things. Well, they talk about it and they haven't done anything. They haven't talked to, they haven't done it. They're talk. So they're talking about incentivizing ways to bring foreigners here, but at the same time, if they tax foreigners, they know that the foreigners are not going to come here. They're going to go to other countries. So, common sense says, hey, think about that and don't let those talks scare you. And remember, nothing's permanent. If you move to Costa Rica, we always say rent for a year, find out if you like it, and that way you can leave. Never come to Costa Rica, immediately buy, only to find out that you don't like it, because once you buy a piece of property, there's so much property for sale in Costa Rica, it would be very, did I say very difficult for you to sell your property and make any money.
It's definitely a buyer's market.
Yeah, it is a buyer's market. Okay?
And remember, Costa Rica, like many other countries, the laws, the finance laws, the country's laws, they change with new administration. And Costa Rica has an election every 4 years, right? Just like in the U.S. Mm-hmm. So about every 4 years, Things change. But there's just so much red tape, though. Hardly anything gets
That's
gets
right.
done.
Now, like I said earlier, in my opinion, Costa Rica is an entrepreneur's paradise. If you're an entrepreneur and you do things with a spirit of excellence, you're going to make money like crazy. And one of the easiest things to make money on is like a restaurant, okay? Now, which brings me to the next question. Marco says, hey, I want to start a really, really small business selling natural beauty products. Is it really complicated to start a business like that?
I have no idea.
Well,
As far as the
when we talk about natural beauty products, okay, the important thing that you do need to know is that importing any kind of beauty products, skincare lotions, things like that, it's very, very difficult because Costa Rica has these rules about importing supplements, skincare, things like that. If you're trying to even bring in makeup, it's very, very difficult. So if you're trying to start
let me clarify. Not in your suitcase. We're not talking about bringing it in your suitcase. We're talking about bringing it in mass quantities to sell.
That's right. Okay. So, if you're bringing stuff in your suitcase, hey, no problem. But if you need to import these beauty products, you're going to have a very, very difficult time.
That's true. Even ordering, like I tried to order some things that I'd run out of. I ordered from Amazon and had it shipped, and it got stuck in customs. It had to be approved by the Ministry of Health because there was lotion and what else was it? Some makeup that had to be approved by the Ministry of Health.
And so we just lost that money. So
I mean, we could have gotten it, but the drive to go over there to get it and go through the hassle.
That's
anyway.
right. So if you were starting a natural beauty product business and you can make it all in Costa Rica, you probably won't have any problem, okay? But if you have to import anything, well, at this point in time, I would say forget it. Find something else. So anyway, do your research on that because Costa Rica does have some strange rules about bringing over things. I mean, like, I simply want some vitamin C. They won't let me import it in. You got to buy what's here. So they have some crazy rules about that. So be careful on that part, Marco, okay?
Yeah, and we really have no idea on the legalities, the paperwork, the things that it takes to start a business.
Yeah.
We've not, we came here with a business, so
yeah, so
already established.
So it's something for you to know about, okay? Hey, thank you very much for the donations that are coming in. I want to say thank you. We greatly appreciate it, okay?
Yes, thank you.
And if you want to donate, hey, just simply in the chat box, there's a $sign right there. You can click on the $sign, and you can certainly contribute. We greatly appreciate it. Let me take a quick look here. There's... Now, Steve and Tracy say, I was told that you pay more taxes with a corporation and they could be pretty high here. I haven't, we're not paying any more taxes than anything. Our corporation, we've had it for a few years. It's only about $80 a year. And you don't necessarily have to have a corporation, but a corporation does make life a lot easier.
It opens some doors.
It does open up a lot of doors.
But we don't have anything in that Costa Rican corporation. Our business is incorporated in the United States, and we pay United States taxes. So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
She means she's asking as a corporation versus an individual. I'm not sure. We don't have anything in the corporation. We just have the corporation.
And now Doug mentioned, he says, talking about internet, he says, now Doug has, I don't think he's in Costa Rica at the moment. I think he got trapped out. But Doug does have a place in Costa Rica, and he has some experience being in Costa Rica. And Doug says most of the providers will give you free equipment if you do sign a 1-year contract. So that goes back to the question that someone asked. In most cases, you don't have to sign a contract.
Are you talking about internet?
Yeah, internet. And I've never had to sign a contract. Now, I did have to sign a contract whenever I went and got an iPhone. And then I got an iPhone from Colby, and I had to sign a 2-year contract, and I got my iPhone for free. Well, you never really get anything for free, do you?
You're paying it by the month.
You're paying for it by the month. But anyway, I did have a 2-year contract for that, okay? But for just regular internet, I never have had any kind of contract. I just paid month by month. But Doug was saying, if you sign a 1-year contract, then they'll give you your equipment for free, which is just your modem and your router. And I know that on EC or Colby, they will supply the modem, but you're paying like $2 a month rental for the modem that, of course, you have to return once you move or you close out. So I'm looking at some of the questions here. So please put your questions in there if I haven't. Now Doug brings up a pretty good point. He says it won't be long before they legalize cannabis. They want the tax revenue. So people have asked this on the before, and I don't know all of the information. Here's what I do know. I think it is technically illegal to consume or to smoke cannabis or weed, but we see people in the parks with police passing by smoking it.
Well, everything that I've read says that personal use is
legal.
It's illegal
to distribute.
Yeah, to grow it and sell it to other people.
So we're just telling you, and we don't have any facts on that. But like Rebecca was saying, I think, personal use is legal, but if you tried to sell it or grow, I think you can even grow your own so long as for personal use and you're not growing a whole farm. Obviously, you're not smoking a whole farm, okay?
Which is the same thing for wine.
Which is the same thing for wine.
Make your
That's
wine
right.
for personal use, but don't be selling it.
That's right. But like Doug was saying, they are looking at legalizing all of this stuff so that they can get the tax revenue.
Which, with wine, it is legal. If you want to sell it, you just have to get the license. So now they're thinking about
the same thing with cannabis, right?
A revenue, a source of revenue income for the country is to go with the medical, and I suppose, I don't know if it's just medical or if they recreational use. I'm not sure.
But which leads us to the next topic, which is CDB or CBD or anyway?
The oil.
Yeah, the oils and the supplements and stuff like that. In the United States, you can easily buy CBD supplements and oils and all that stuff. For use, but it's difficult to buy that here in Costa Rica.
There are people that make it and sell it though.
I don't know if there's people here that make it, because I looked for it and had a very difficult time, and there were some places they were on the verge of legalizing it, but it was very difficult to find it in Costa Rica.
And there's different grades or like the contents. If it has to do with the oil has to do with the made from the stems, or if it's made. Yeah, if it has the
I don't know
what is
all
it,
of that
HTC?
Stuff. If it has the THP or any of the stuff that gets high, yeah. I don't know all of the initials, okay?
Oh, and here comes the rain. We have.
Okay.
Rainy season is officially.
Yeah, rainy season has started early this year, no doubt, because it normally doesn't start till May, but it started in April, so for some strange reason, okay? Doug says, yeah, there is indeed a lot of black market pot out there. And unfortunately, it's like anywhere in the United States, I suppose, you can buy a lot of black market pot and drugs in Costa Rica.
It's definitely very popular because we see it all over, we smell it all over. So
now, Vicky says, I've tried to find some coverage maps online. And Vicky, it is kind of difficult. Inside the forum, there are some PDF that we have available showing you some of the most popular places. And if you go to Cabletica, if you go to EC, you go to some of those places do have coverage maps, but it is sometimes a little difficult to find that. Okay, but inside the forum, we give you some links, and I'll add some more in there to show you where the coverage areas are at. Now, at the moment, Melody asked, well, where are you at right now? And where are you building? So right now, we are in the middle of San Isidro, and we're in an area that's called Ballston Barrio, or Barrio Ballston. And Barrio just what means? Community?
It means neighborhood.
Neighborhood. So we're in the neighborhood called Ballston. It's really kind of a nice neighborhood.
And what's funny is even though we're in the middle of the city, I mean, the houses are right next to each other. There's very little yard. Somebody around here has roosters, chickens, and ducks. Ooh, the rain's coming hard.
Well, just keep on talking because your mic will work fine.
But, and did you know that roosters don't just crow at dawn?
But no, matter of fact, roosters will crow at 11 p.m., at 2 a.m.
They are sounding off throughout the night.
Hey, it's raining really hard right now, and I'd be curious to know how well can you hear us with Rebecca's mic? I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, and how loud is the rain? Is it overpowering?
Now, Melody asked, where are we building? So we're going to be building in some very remote mountains above Buenos Aires, okay? And so they're saying where they can hear us well both, and that's good. The lapel mics are working great.
Finally!
Finally! Okay, so yeah, we're going to be building in the mountains above Buenos Aires. You know, it's a very, very, very remote place, and I'm sure not very many people would want to be there, but that is exactly what we're looking for. We want to be remote. We want to be right there with the monkeys and the wildlife. But it does cost a lot more money, and it's difficult to be up there. But anyway, we'll be showing you some videos soon about all of that. And Madam was saying that she can hear the roosters, and you're absolutely right. Just a couple of houses down, there's some roosters. Okay, and Madam was saying, hey, we want some more road tours. When's the next one? And so, unfortunately, I got to apologize. With all of our moving and all of the stuff that we've been doing, we haven't been able to work on the videos that we want to do. But we do have some road tours coming up real soon. And what you need to do is you need to type into the question box, where would you like us to go on the next road tour? Because we're supposed to do Tinamaste real soon, even though we've done the main road that goes from San Isidro all the way down to Dominical. So if you want some more road tours, tell us where you want us to do a road tour.
Yes, and the rainy season starting early has really messed us up, because not only did it start in April, but it's also starting to rain earlier in the day.
Which is very unusual.
Yeah, very unusual. You know, it's not supposed to be raining at 11 just yet.
Yeah.
So
all right.
That's really made it hard with moving and stuff. So.
Yeah. And Melody says, hey, they're supposed to be coming down somewhere around October, November for 17 days, and hope to meet you guys. And look, if you come down here, we can't promise that we'll meet up with you, but if we are available, hey, we'd love to meet up with you. You know, share an apple juice and maybe a dinner, okay? So yeah, you know, especially once we get moved, we are in a remote area, but if you're willing to come up and meet up with us, well, hey, if we're not too busy and we've got the time, we would love to meet up with you.
Unfortunately, we've not been able to. We've had a couple of times that we couldn't meet with people. This stuff going on.
Okay, Brian said he'd like to get some more information about VA, and I suppose you're talking about for vets, you know. And you know, that's a question that comes up a whole lot. And I think I got some information I can share that I'm going to be putting into the forum about vets, because you know, a lot of vets, and I'm a vet, although I only served a little over 6 years, and so I'm not entitled to a lot of the things that you're entitled to. When I go into the United States, and Rebecca and I are relatively very, very healthy. We're very healthy, and I say that's because we eat mostly a plant-based diet. We exercise on a regular basis, and so we stay very healthy. So very rarely do we ever have to go see a doctor. But if we go into the United States, we have a veterans hospital, and I don't believe there's anything like that in Costa Rica. And even though there are some veterans benefits, I don't know how much they cover. But I'm going to do some research to find out about that. Now, James asked a really great question. He says, look, I've already had both of my COVID shots. Do I still need a COVID test 48 hours prior to arriving? And yes, you do. You know, it kind of sounds crazy. You know, the governments want everybody to get a COVID shot and the COVID, treatments. However, you still got to wear your mask. You still got to have your test, because even though you have the shots, it doesn't keep you from getting COVID again. So you still have to have all of your tests. So, or, however, Costa Rica's not requiring you to have a COVID test coming into Costa Rica, but you do have to buy your insurance. You do have to fill out the health pass, and we do have a video showing you step by step how to fill out the health pass. And inside the form, we have information and a step-by-step tutorial on all of the Costa Rican requirements that you need to know when coming to Costa Rica, and who to buy your insurance from, who's the cheapest and the best place to buy your travel insurance with, okay? So you definitely want to join the forum, and you can find the link in the description below on how to join the forum, and that information is free so that you can come and join so that you can come to Costa Rica, find out the requirements, and where to get your travel insurance.
Right, and if your country requires a COVID test for re-entry, Costa Rica is very well set up for rapid testing, and the several locations.
That's right.
So,
and I'm glad you brought that up, because there's even a PDF in there, so that you can download the PDF that shows you all of the testing locations all over Costa Rica. So no matter where you are, you can find a testing location. Like the United States, you can come to Costa Rica without a test, but when you go back to the United States, you gotta have a test, and so you need to know where that's at. Well, there's a link in the forum, so you can download the PDF, and you can go to a testing location near you, get tested, so that you can fly back home without any problem. Okay?
Yeah, lots of people have done it and had no issues, no problems with getting the test done quickly, and it being accepted at the airport. The only thing that I did hear several people say is to make sure that you have a hard copy of your test results, because if you only have it on your cell phone or your tablet, and for some reason you're not getting service, like if you're going at the border of Panama or Nicaragua, sometimes you won't have service. And they had, thank goodness they had their hard copy, because they couldn't bring the copy up from the website.
Yeah. Now, the important thing is that, if you buy from who we recommend, there's an app, and you can put that app on your phone.
Yeah, and
then
you can download it.
Yeah, you can show the app on your phone, and you won't have any problem.
Yeah.
It does make things a whole lot easier.
That'll work just as well. Download it onto your
Yeah.
device rather than just have it
Now,
on the website.
Madam Allen asked a good question, and she says, well, hey, if I buy a farm and I breed horses, will I be able to sell those horses or cows or vegetables if I'm raising them? And yes, absolutely you can. There's several people that have farms and they're growing organic or growing vegetables, and almost anybody can go to any farmer's market, pay to have a little booth, and you can sell your vegetables and stuff. I recently bought a horse because of where we're going, and I bought a horse because there's several places online where you can sell your horses, and so you can place your horses online. Now, so yeah, indeed, if you breed horses and all of that, yep, you'll be able to sell them and you'll have no problem. In my opinion, from what I've learned. I don't have the facts, and there may be laws that I don't know about. I'm just telling you what we did.
I would think that she would have to get some type of license to sell as a business,
Yeah.
There's a big difference between having a horse and selling one horse to a neighbor or somebody versus...
I really don't know, because I know that the guy I bought my horse from, he regularly sold horses because he could only handle a few horses on his farm, and then he would just keep selling all of the horses the ponies that he had.
But he was Tico.
So it was a different. So anyway.
And there are weekly, what do you call when you go to the market where they have the cows and the horses?
Yep, there's auctions, and so there's cattle auctions in Costa Rica. And so there are not a lot of places. I haven't seen a lot of places, but I have seen several places. There's one down in Coto Bruce around San Vito. There's another one that we saw here in Pérez Zeledón or San Isidro. There's cattle auctions. where you can load up your cows, load up your horses, take them to the cattle auction, and you can sell all of that stuff.
Right.
So
that's a
so
possibility.
I feel like you won't have any problem selling them here. I just don't know all of the laws. I'm just telling you, I know that Tico sell, and I don't think you'd have any problem selling either. But I don't know that, okay? I'm just telling you from what I think I know. I could be wrong. I don't
You're
think
never wrong.
I'm never wrong. I mean, one time I thought I was wrong, and I found out I was only mistaken. So, hey, I'm still not wrong. But anyway, all right. So, and yeah, Caroline says, are you allowed to grow your own food on your property? And I know that's a strange thing, and that seems like a strange question. But,
Yeah,
you know,
but in the United States, there are laws.
there's some crazy places that say you can't grow food. I'm like, really? But in Costa Rica, a ton of people, the majority of the people seem like they grow their own food.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a few things people are growing.
It's nothing to be driving down the highway and see beans being dried out in the front yards, and so it's a lot of people grow their own food.
Yeah. So.
Which is one of our goals.
Steve and Tracy brought up a good point. Saying that a corporation or an LLC. I don't know how many people have done an LLC, but I know that corporations are big, and she said they're not nearly as attractive because they are taxed a little more than they used to be. And Costa Rica is trying to make some changes on that because they're trying to create more
revenue.
money, more revenue.
Right.
And so you're absolutely right, Steve and Tracy. It's not as attractive as it was a few years ago.
Yeah. I think they've always had the annual renewal fee, but what were they talking about that we had to start paying some kind of tax, and you have to hire
you had to hire someone
a
that
CPA
would,
or whatever they call it here, a professional accountant.
That would put the notes in there and the business meetings and all of that. It was really ridiculous. And they talked about that, and then I think they dropped it, because they were going to lose people.
Yeah.
So that's, again, one of those things where they try things and find out that, well, you know what? There's no reason for me to have a corporation. I'm not going to pay for that ridiculousness.
Right.
And so, Costa Rica tries things and finds out it's a bad move, and then they rescind it or take it away. Okay. So if I haven't answered your question, please put your question in the chat box, because I'm scanning the question in the chat box right now, okay? And I'm glad you guys can hear us throughout the rain, so it tells us that the lapel mics are working good. Now, Brent asked a really good question. He says, can you tell us about internet coverage for the beach area, like Guanacaste, Potrero? Anyway, Brent, almost anywhere, because the beaches are so very, very popular, because a lot of foreigners come to Costa Rica to enjoy the beaches, you almost never have a problem with internet coverage around the beaches.
Right.
Because the beaches do have a lot of tourists. The beaches have a lot of gringos living in that area. Almost never a problem with internet coverage.
Right. And since you mentioned Potrero, when we say we lived in Potrero Grande and there was, no internet, we're not talking about the Potrero that's on
Playa Potrero.
Yeah, we're not talking about Playa Potrero that is on the Guanacaste, the Nicoya Peninsula. We're talking about a little nothing town in the center of the country that was a dust bowl.
That's right. That's right. So, the Potrero Grande we lived at, that's Potrero Grande, not to be confused with Playa Potrero. Potrero Grande was a tiny, tiny community in a valley, and it was super hot. And man, if it's gonna be hot, you might as well be able to see some water. There wasn't no water there. Okay, so big difference. But I'm glad you asked. Almost anywhere around the beach, you're gonna have good internet.
Yeah. Now, toward the southern part of Costa Rica, those beaches are still underdeveloped. A lot of those.
Yeah.
And so they're still without the internet. But I'd say anything from Uvita or around Uvita and up north, even on the Nicoya Peninsula and on the Caribbean side, around Cauida and Puerto Viejo, those areas have really good internet.
Yeah. Now, John asked a good question. John said, hey, speaking of tours, are you still considering taking groups of people on a relocation tour? And yes, absolutely we are. You know, that's a big undertaking. And so what we need to do is we need to actually go and find out, okay, if we go on a relocation tour, you know, how to pick you guys up at the airport, the time frame, and obviously the best time frame to do this is going to be during the rainy season, early in the rainy season. So we're looking at all of those different possibilities, where to stay at, and you know, going and looking at different places so that you have an idea whenever you do relocate, where's the best place to relocate. We would love to do some relocation tours, but obviously we got to go and find out what's the best thing that we can do to help you so it's not crazy expensive, but yet cover all of the costs.
That would be something exciting to do.
Oh, that would be so much fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we're looking forward to doing.
Yeah.
We just need to finish moving and get
Yeah, our
settled.
biggest thing is that, you know, right now we're super busy, and there's going to be a lot of things happening once we get moved in the mountains above Buenos Aires. Once we get to the mountains above Buenos Aires, we'll have a whole lot more flexibility to really, you know, grow the YouTube channel, grow an actual Facebook, you know, put our channel on Facebook. A lot of things that we want to do that we just haven't had time to do because of all of the extra work trying to get moved. Madam Allen asked, what about the peninsula that's down south? And I think you're talking about the Osa Peninsula. And you know, we haven't spent a lot of time on the Osa Peninsula.
No,
it's very underdeveloped, okay? But there are some people there, but it's very underdeveloped. So I hope that answers your question. I don't know a lot about it. I just know it's very underdeveloped on the Osa Peninsula.
We've been to Drake Bay, and it's very natural. A lot of nature there. The wildlife preserve and the national park. It's a huge area.
Yeah. Now, Jackie asked a really good question and says, my daughter is a dietitian and is wanting to get a job in Costa Rica. Is it possible to get employment before becoming a citizen or a resident if she lives with me and I get over $1,000 a month in retirement? And Jackie, I don't want to bust your bubble here or give you any bad news, but the thing that you need to know, it's very difficult to actually work in Costa Rica. It's almost impossible to work in Costa Rica as a tourist. You can forget that. As a resident, it's still very difficult. Costa Rica really protects its citizens, and
its employment is the job market. They protect their job market. The only way to get a job is if there are no Costa Ricans able to do the work or available to do the work.
That's right.
You know, we have a friend, a doctor friend, and the type of medicine field.
He's a chiropractor.
A chiropractor?
Yeah, so we have a neighbor that's a chiropractor, and he lives in the Rivas area, and he has a practice in San Isidro, but the only reason he could open up a practice and legally work is because there was no other chiropractors in all of San Isidro. And because of that, he was able to work legally, and he's a resident.
Right.
Okay.
So even as he's a doctor though, right? Doctor of chiropractic.
Yeah, he's a chiropractic doctor.
So even as a doctor, it was difficult. He had to fill out paperwork and apply to be able to work in Costa Rica, and he did get approved. But in any job that there are Costa Ricans, even like there are a lot of nurses, and you know, that's a hard area. In the U.S., as a nurse, you can go just about anywhere and get a job. But, you know, you come to Costa Rica and they have a lot of nurses. So
there's an overabundance of nurses and a ton of nurses without work. So if you're a nurse, you can't get a job because there's too many nurses without work. You know, here's a good question from a family's journey who says, are you able to own firearms there? And, you know, you can own firearms, but it's very difficult to own firearms. You know, there is no hunting in Costa Rica. other than illegal hunting, so don't get caught doing that. Okay, so it's very difficult to own a firearm, but I do know that there are people that own firearms legally, but it's very, very difficult. So I hope that answers your question.
And it's difficult to buy the ammunition.
Yeah, you can't even hardly find the ammunition in Costa Rica. So it's almost pointless to own a firearm. Okay. Now, Brian says, well, hey, will you guys use a cistern for your own personal water use? And, we're going to do just like a whole lot of people. We'll get our water straight from the river. And because we're very, very remote in the mountains, there's nothing above us to pollute that water. And it's very, very clean, okay? So just like when we were living in the Rivas area, all of our water came from a creek or a river, and it's very clean. And so, a lot of people in Costa Rica get their water from the river, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, the majority of people get their water from the municipality, and it's called AYA, A-Y-A, but you can get your water from the rivers. Obviously, if you own a piece of property, before drinking the water from a river, I'd make sure to find out who lives above me to see if it's cattle farms and if it's being polluted by farms and stuff of that nature.
Right, definitely have it tested.
Yeah, so you want to check
the water
that.
tested.
But
yeah, when you're looking to buy property, make sure you're not buying under, below some form.
Yeah. Yeah. Doug brings up a good point and says that his wife and daughter are horse crazy as well. And, a Q&A on what it takes to buy and keep horses would be a good idea. And I think it would be a good suggestion, Doug. Thanks. Now, of course, Miss Maladondando, forgive me if I pronounce that wrong, says, any news on the baby boomer law that they've talked about? We haven't heard any of that. And I did a little bit of research to find out, is there any new stuff going on with that? And, Costa Rica does that. They talk about stuff. They want to create these incentives. And we haven't heard anything more on that. But like any government, the wheels of justice do turn slow. And we haven't heard much on that. But hopefully something will happen. Indeed. Okay. Now, Marcus says, well, which off-grid power generation are you going to be using? Water generation in the river, wind, solar. So at the moment, we just had a guy go in there and install some solar. Just a very, very small solar system because, unfortunately, we don't have solar systems are very expensive, and we're not rich people. So we do have a small solar system, but we're going to be installing a Pelton, which comes from the river. So, and I'm going to be showing a lot of this stuff on video to help you in the event you decide to do the same thing. Right. So you're going to be learning a lot about that kind of stuff.
And the solar panels are not that expensive. It's the batteries.
That's right.
That's what really matters.
Yeah, the solar panels, I bought 6 solar panels. They run about $200 a piece. They're 310-watt solar panels. However, the batteries are over $1,000 a piece, for some good lithium iron phosphate batteries. So, buying an off-grid solar system can be very, very expensive, okay? So that could cost you a fortune. But we're going to be talking about creating power with water. And that's why when I talk about buying property, you always want to buy a piece of property that has water on it. Number one, water is life-sustaining, and you'll be able to do a lot with water. And if it's a big enough water source, you can create electricity from that water source. So there's a lot of stuff you can do if you have water. So we're going to be teaching you a lot about that when we talk about our off-grid homestead. But we're still going to continue to talk about Costa Rica and the pros and cons, the good, bad, and the ugly, okay? We're just going to give you more information in case you want to follow along and learn about building your own homestead in Costa Rica. Now, Jackie says, hey, we're going to be visiting in a few weeks and wondering if our cell phones will work if we buy an international SIMS card. And so here's the most important thing, Jackie, is whoever your provider is, whether it's AT&T, Sprint, or whoever, make sure you go there and have them unlock your phone. When they unlock your phone, then when you come to Costa Rica, you can buy a SIMS card. They're rechargeable, and you can stick them in your card, and then you'll be able to use your phone while you're in Costa Rica. Very, very cheap. Obviously, you can buy an international plan with AT&T and all those other providers. Very, very expensive, okay? I wouldn't suggest doing that.
Well, it depends on how much you're going to use it. But if you have just your Costa Rican cord, you can't really call back home.
You wouldn't be able to call back home, but I think most people just want to use their phone in Costa Rica to call back and forth, So that's a good point.
Yeah.
It depends on what you're doing. If you're trying to call back home to the United States, use your international plan with your provider. If you're not, and you're just like you and your wife or your couple or whoever, and you want to contact or call different people in Costa Rica, just buy a SIMS card in Costa Rica.
Right. And you can buy rechargeable data plan, right? And then if you have something like Skype or FaceTime, what's something else? WhatsApp, that's very popular. Then you just use your Costa Rican data plan, which is pay as you go. You don't have to buy a whole lot. I buy 10,000 colones at a time. It's less than $20 worth, and it lasts me for quite a while.
Yeah. Now, John Way says he just checked the map out for the Buenos Aires area, and that area is big with what they call Pendeco, which is nothing more than Del Monte. So Del Monte has thousands upon thousands of acres there where they're growing pineapple. So what you might be seeing is all of that stuff that's going on through there in Buenos Aires. And now Brian says, hey, do people have wells for water in Costa Rica? And yes, you can, but Costa Rica does have some strange rules about wells. And so, but you can drill a well in Costa Rica. It's going to cost you a lot of money. And you do have all these hoops to jump through. And, excuse me, I think I might be wrong, but Costa Rica, when you drill a well, they're talking about their water source, and they own the well. So anyway, I don't know all of the facts about that, but you do want to check into that. So yes, you can have a well. Okay, if I haven't answered your question, please put your question, especially about internet. And of course, we're talking about all kind of things, and like we told you, Rebecca and I had to move to this temporary place, or where the temporary place inside the city. I can tell you that I don't like living in the city, even though San Isidro is a small city. It is the second largest city outside the metropolitan area. Did I say that right?
San Jose, yeah.
So, San Isidro is a nice city to live in if you have to live in a city. However, all of Costa Rica has gone to the dogs, let me tell you, in a good way. Costa Rica is a dog-friendly country. Everybody has a dog. So every morning and every evening, Nikki and I walk down the street. We go for a walk so she can do her thing. And every single house has at least one dog, and many of them more than one dog. And so you go down the street and it's like, I mean, it's crazy. There's no peace and quiet. Everybody has a dog, and it's primarily because of the petty theft. And so dogs are really just a very cheap alarm system. And but anyway, and just down the street, there's a guy who has a house, and he has a whole lot full of ducks and roosters and chickens, and it's very, very different. There's one, in my opinion, there's only one good thing about living in the city, and that's when Rebecca and I decide to go eat. Well, you're only a couple of minutes away from restaurants, and you can go eat.
Yeah, that and the availability of the internet, the fast internet.
Yeah, well, okay, you're right. I was wrong for the first time in my life. There's two good things about living in the city, and that's you can get really good high-speed internet, and you can, you're real close to the restaurants, and you can try different things, okay? But even with that, I much prefer living in the remote areas and really just enjoying life on the outside.
Yeah, I like the grass and the trees and the rivers, and
yep.
we're kind of walled in right here.
Steve and Tracy says, yep, Costa Rica's gone for the dogs, and we've already been adopted by a dog already.
I'm sure.
Absolutely.
My heart goes out to so many dogs. I wish I could take them all in.
Matter of fact, we've only been here a few days, and of course I take Nikki for a walk every morning and every evening, and I call him Jake. I don't know who he is, but Jake sits out there and goes for a walk with us almost every single time.
Yeah, and he just showed up and
Yeah.
just hangs out in the...
He's a stray
front of the
dog, and
gate.
he's gotten to where he knows we're going for a walk every morning and every evening, and Jake is waiting out there for us. So anyway, that's the way it goes. All right, so hey, it looks like we've answered all of the questions. And let me ask you, please take a moment to give us a thumbs up, give us a like. We greatly appreciate all of you. Really, really appreciate you, contributing and donating to us. Really, really, even more greatly appreciate it when you join up as a free member of the forum, and even more so when you join up as a premium member. Hey, it's $10 a month. That's hardly anything, and we greatly appreciate it. It helps us a lot, really, in doing all of the research so that we can give you the valuable information about Costa Rica. We don't have any ulterior motive. We're not a travel agency. We're not realtors. We could care less if you come to Costa Rica or not. If we can share our information, we would love for you to come to Costa Rica. But it is not for everybody. It is a challenge, but every challenge you can overcome. And you know what? You can enjoy Costa Rica. Now, there's a lot of people that say, is it expensive? It's really not. You can live very affordable, and it doesn't mean that you have to live like a Tico. Ticos, there's nothing wrong with that. However, Ticos live very differently, very affordably. There are no used stores in Costa Rica, and that's because when they have something, they use it up completely. It's very different, but you can enjoy the Pura Vida lifestyle, which is really just a laid-back, very slow, very relaxed lifestyle. Because, people are wanting to go to Costa Rica to escape the rat race, We came here for totally different reasons, and we enjoy it. There are some things that drive me crazy about Costa Rica, and we'll talk about some of those things at some point in time. But regardless of how many things that drive me crazy about Costa Rica, there are always been more pros than cons about our stay in Costa Rica.
Yes. Well, we came for the nature, for the beauty of the country and the friendliness of the people.
Yeah. Now, Eric asked a question, says, was a building permit required to build your house? And yes, when you do build, you are required to have a building permit. There are a lot of people that build without a building permit, and then they end up getting penalized, okay? So I'm not saying do that at all. But there are a lot of different stipulations and different rules and stuff. But yes, you do have to have a building permit. But I don't think it's anything like the United States. They don't have codes and stuff. And so we see all kind of things thrown up that are definitely not up to code, okay?
Well, they probably have codes. We just see a lot of structures that they aren't following
Right,
the codes.
right. So maybe you're right, Rebecca. Maybe they do
depends
have
on what
codes, but I don't know them.
Yeah, I mean, we see mansions that I'm
Yeah.
sure there are codes, and then we see, just little one bedroom, one bath,
Yeah.
little houses thrown
yeah.
up.
Yeah. So, and of course, Eric says, is it difficult to get a building permit? And to answer that question, I can't honestly answer that question because where we're at, we don't own that property, so we personally didn't have to get that building permit, okay? And it's a whole totally different scenario that I can't really talk about. But I don't think it's difficult to get a building permit here, so I can't authentically answer that question. I don't know how difficult it is to get a building permit here, Eric, because we didn't personally have to get one.
It can't be too terribly difficult.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
there
people-
are houses going up all over the place.
Houses go up all over the place and often, so it can't be too terribly difficult, okay?
The only thing is, as a non-resident, I don't know what the situation is for that.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's about it. We've been going on now for a little while, probably, well, a little over an hour now. We greatly appreciate it. If there's any last minute questions, hey, got any last minute questions, please put them in the chat box. We definitely want to answer all your questions. We greatly, greatly appreciate us. Take 2 seconds to please give us a thumbs up right now. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much, okay? Miss Malando says the remote areas versus city, is it easy to build on land there? And yeah, it is very easy to build on land. And there are a lot of people that go through there, and you can get a dozer real cheap or a backhoe who will level you a spot, and you can build on a spot. So yeah, building in remote areas is a lot cheaper than building in the city, okay? Mm-hmm. So you'll save a ton of money doing that, okay?
Yeah. The lots around San Jose are very expensive.
Yeah, very expensive. So, hey, we greatly, greatly appreciate it. John Way says, hey, cheers, folks. I'll see you in January with some mead. I am looking forward to that, okay? And
thank you all for joining us, for being with us today.
We greatly, greatly appreciate all of you folks. Thank you so much for joining us. And hey, I hope to see you again next Sunday with a new, hey, I don't know what we're going to do next Sunday. We're going to do a tour, but we're going to get back on our cost of living and talk about the different costs of living in Costa Rica. All right, folks, y'all have a great one. We're going to see you next week. Make sure you hit us a thumbs up, and we greatly appreciate it.